Hello, everyone. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to thehoosier.com on 3. Now with On 3 and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football. Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side. And the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at thehoosier.com. Go there. Sign up today.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU, America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh. Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday, and that means it's the end of the week, baby. You made it. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com is with us, and it has been quite the week for Darian DeVries and the Indiana basketball staff as they have added more pieces to that roster. They're getting deeper and deeper into it. We're getting a very good indication of what this team is going to look like. There's still a few more additions to add, but I would imagine that guards are not going to be the priority, and at least one, if not two, more what we would consider bigs, but maybe not the traditional bigs that we would think of. Some guys that are probably more mobile. I've said it many times. You're not going to see an Umar Ballo on this team. No one that has a 4-foot tether to the rim will be playing out there. They're going to have to be mobile, whether it's for themselves or to drag their defender out away from the paint and keep those spacing lanes open. But Indiana's getting deeper and deeper into what Darian DeVries appears to want for his first season, Alec.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the two additions yesterday, right? Nick Dorn and then Sam Alexis. Nick Dorn had kind of come out of the blue over the last probably 3 or 4 days. When he entered the portal, everyone kind of had the expectation that he was going to end up at North Carolina. Originally from there, a legacy there, dad and brother. Both attended. His brother recently played for the football team there. So there was a lot of expectation that that's where he was going to end up. And quite honestly, he fits what the Carolina roster needed. So once he didn't commit after that kind of first week of being in the portal, there was a lot of expectation that, okay, maybe he ends up somewhere else. But really didn't have a lot going on. Was not kind of in that 1 or 2A group of transfer portal additions to kind of the open market. Visited Maryland earlier this week. There was some reports that Pitt was potentially trying to get involved as well, and potentially Gonzaga. Indiana brought him in, and obviously, the rest is history there. He committed shortly after the visit wrapped up. But this is an interesting addition for Indiana. There was always the expectation that Indiana would go out and get one more perimeter player. They needed one more to kind of solidify that group. And they needed one more with size, right? I mean, the ability to land a 6'7" shooter who can play both the 2, the 3, and, he can theoretically go very, very small ball 4 because he's definitely more of a physical type of player. But he's known for his shooting, and that's what he does, almost every single possession when he's out there. He's a career 35% shooter from 3, but extremely high volume. Made 3 threes a game last year, made 2 threes a game his freshman year. took 8 threes a game last year alone. So he's going to be a guy who can spot up, can create a little bit off of the dribble, but he's going to be locked in on the 3-point line, and he's a very efficient shooter when it comes to that. So you kind of check off that last box as a shooter, and now you look at what Indiana's been able to really bring in from a shooting perspective, right? Obviously, you have Nick Dorn now. You have Lamar Wilkerson, who shot 44.5% from three, made almost, I think it was 3.4 threes a game last year. Tucker DeVries, 47%, obviously in limited action last year. But the fact that you add Lamar Wilkerson and Tucker DeVries, who combined for 7.7 threes a game last year, that is 1.2 more than the entire Indiana roster made as a whole last year. So just with those two additions, you open up the entire offense. Jason Drake, over a 3 a game, almost 40%. And then Josiah Miles, who made 16 more threes than Luke Goody did, is now your 4th, 5th best shooter, and he's still shooting 34%. Reed Bailey, add that in. Obviously a lower volume shooter, but has the ability to step out at 41%. So you're starting to now look at this roster with 6 legitimate shooters who are going to shoot anywhere from 33.5 to probably 41%. And those aren't guys who are just taking, 1 or 2 threes a game. Those are guys who are going to, really open things up for Indiana offensively. And when you look at what the addition of Sam Alexis brings now, that's a guy who didn't visit. That was done before he visited. We're told that a visit is in the works over the next week. He should be expected to be on campus, but no official dates for that yet. But a 6'8", 6'9", versatile, physical, high motor forward, a guy who kind of got buried a little bit in the depth chart there for Florida towards the end of the season, just because of all the talent and production they got from a lot of those bigs. But a guy who, had a very successful time when he was on the floor, was pretty efficient when you look at his overall numbers. His per 40-minute breakdown was about 16, 12, and 2.5 blocks a game, and had a double-double last year, had 4 games with 10-plus points. So when he was on the floor, he was pretty efficient. He's not going to be a guy who's going to actively seek out his offense, but is exactly what Indiana needs from a fit perspective. And again, that's we continue to go back to how this roster fits together. He's a guy who's going to rebound the ball, guy who's going to be a phenomenal offensive rebounder. And when you're shooting a lot of threes and shooting a lot of outside shots, you need very efficient and effective offensive rebounders, and that's what he does. Just one stat for that. I mean, his offensive rebound rate last year was 14.5%. And
all that.
And people may not know specifically how that relates to some of the other bigs that Indiana's had. For reference, Chase Jackson Davis, his best year was his freshman year, rebounding the ball offensively at 11.8%. His senior year was just over 10%. Kel'el Ware was never over 8% in his 2 seasons. And then Omar Ballo was right around 12% last year. So when you look at what he can bring from an efficiency standpoint and an effectiveness standpoint, in whatever minutes those may be, that's the kind of production that you're going to be able to get. He was up to 26% 2 years ago from an offensive rebound rate when he was at Chattanooga, when he averaged basically a double-double before he transferred in to Florida. So this is a guy who's going to be able to play the 4 and the 5. I think you're going to see him a lot more at the 5, though, as that versatile rim protector, and a guy who can also catch a lot of lobs, finish around the rim, and again, be that effective offensive rebounder that you need, that was really lacking, because Reed Bailey is not a guy who's going to play major minutes at the 5. He can be that guy for some spot minutes, but now you're starting to see this front court rotation come together. Obviously still need to add, I would assume they probably add at least 1 more, if not 2. And so you start to look at who that could be, right? It's probably going to be a heavy dose of Federico in the discussion.
I want so badly for it to be him, just so I can hear Don Fisher, Federico.
Yeah. And,
Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a great name. Baba Miller from Florida Atlantic has been We've confirmed contact there, but I think the name out of those two, you're definitely looking at Federico, a guy who again is with talking to a few Texas Tech and Pitt reporters and insiders over the last week or so. Phenomenal rim protector and phenomenal in the lob game. And when you have two terrific facilitators in Tate Connerway and Connor Enright who can get downhill and draw extra defenders, that's the type of skill set that you need. And there's no wonder that Indiana is deeply involved there. If you're looking at a high school kid, Leo Curtis, the name that comes to mind, 7-foot center, who decommitted from Arizona State, had Arizona State, Indiana, and West Virginia in his final three. Really loved a lot of what Indiana had to offer from a brand and kind of culture perspective, and had a great relationship with Darian DeVries at West Virginia as well. So that's a name to keep on the radar. I think Indiana is going to go one more portal big, and then maybe they go and potentially snatch up a high schooler for a little bit of that development to kind of round out the rotation. But now you're really sitting at a very good core group of guys where you don't need to reach for anything. You have a solid foundation. Now it's about finding those, maybe two more players who really fit in perfectly. And it's going to be, more status quo of what this staff has done over theoretically the last week and a half, where they've landed obviously a large chunk of what this roster consists of right now.
Alec Lasley, the managing editor for the Hoosier.com on 3. Go there and subscribe now. It's buck for the first month, 50% off for the first year. That's only $5 a month, people. You're missing out, I'm telling you, because there's way more coverage than what we're talking about there. And that's where you're going to get the information first, as they also working with Joe Tipton and all of those guys to break all these great stories. Lots of good stuff, Alec. We appreciate you, brother. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We didn't get to talk about the Thunder, their 26-point comeback last night. 29. Oh, I thought it was 29. Yeah. Then I thought I read 26, but that was mind-boggling. And forget it. The Memphis is done. You're gone. Zach Edey had the dumbest foul I've ever seen in history of basketball, even though I need to get out. But he's on a jump ball, and he should have gotten a flagrant for that dang old thing. But anyway, little 500 weekend. If you're in and around Bloomington, park the car, walk. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
Appreciate it, Jim. Have a good one.
You betcha. And cannot thank each and every one of you. Big thanks to everybody. Todd Leary, Zach Osterman, and of course, Alec Lasley for joining us. Most importantly, each and every one of you. Without you, we have no reason to be here. We are grateful for it. We're back on Monday, but anything happening over the weekend, we'll be updating you. And, of course, you can go to thehoosier.com, as they will constantly do that. Have yourselves a great one. Until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Hello, everyone. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to thehoosier.com on 3. Now on 3, and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football, Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side, and the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at thehoosier.com. Go there, sign up today.